يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن عبد الله بن عمر بن الله عليه وسلم. Hadith 9 collection, Imam Bukhari, Abdullah ibn Umar. This is a very well-known story. Like the hadith is a story, and everyone here probably has heard it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a long story. I just want to take the piece of it that is related to the concept of bir al-walidain, which is what we've been talking about over the last number of sessions. We're going to keep on talking about it until we enter February, and then we'll start talking a little bit more about Ramadan, inshallah. And in this story, it's a unique hadith because you get to hear the Prophet ﷺ tell a story to the Sahaba, a story that's not necessarily in the Quran, and that's a unique piece. He didn't do that a lot. We have maybe a number of hadith where he did that, but throughout his life, you can count them on two hands how many times he actually told them a story from outside of what the Quran taught. And فقال بينما ثلاثة رهط أو ثلاثة نفر ممن كان قبلكم يمشون إذ أصابهم المطر فأووا إلى الغار فأطبق عليهم. So he says عليه الصلاة والسلام, as three people from the nations that came before you were walking once out, and it rained upon them, so they sought refuge in a cave somewhere, and then the cave, basically a big boulder fell, and it fell and it closed the cave door. So something happened in the mountain, an avalanche of rocks, and it came and it closed the door. So they're stuck now inside this cave, and no one can hear them on the outside. There's no phones and there's no signal. There's nothing. They're stuck inside, and the sakhr is huge. Like the rocks are too heavy for them to push back against. قال فقال بعضهم لبعض إنه والله يا هؤلاء لا ينجيكم في ساعتكم هذه إلا الصدق. So they looked at one another and they started talking that wallahi nothing will save you from this if you are going to be saved, if there's any hope of being saved, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not decree this as your last moment, nothing will save us except honesty. And one narration قال فلينظر أحدكم فليسأل الله بأشياء يعلم أنه فيها قد صدق. So one narration says, so you must think of things to ask Allah through that you knew when you did them you were sincere and honest. In another narration قال فاطلبوا من الله الفرج بصالح أعمالكم. Another narration, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for faraj through your good deeds. And of course, there's a lot of learning points from this hadith. تدعو Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is very permissible for you to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a deed. يا رب أسألك بفعل كذا. It's permissible. And it's permissible to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through things. It's permissible. It's a huge controversial topic. I never talk about it. I don't think I've ever talked about it before. I don't plan to start now. But there's a lot of issues here. But this is a good example. You can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a deed that you did, so through something that you did. فقال, so each of them said something. There were three of them. I'm not going to talk about all three, but I want to talk about one of them. فقال أحدهم اللهم إنه كان لي أبوان شيخان كبيران وكنت أرعاهما ولي زوجة وولد. Oh Allah, I used to have two elderly parents, and I used to take care of them along with my wife and my children. وكنت أحلب غبوقهما ثم آتيهما بالغبوق قبل زوجي وولدي. I used to, he had ghanam, he had sheep, and he would milk his sheep at the end of any given day, and he would take the milk first to his parents, for them to drink, and then before he took it to his wife and his children. فأبطأت عنهما ليلة. And one night I made it late. Like they sleep, people who are elderly, they for some reason start sleeping before the sun goes down. I need to understand this, by the way. I've been working on this. Like I work in med, and I don't get it. Like what happens when you go beyond 70 and suddenly you have to sleep at 7 p.m. And the people who do this are people I remember when they were in their 60s or 50s. They were up until 3 in the morning, and and suddenly khalas 7:30 they're out, and then 5 o'clock they're up. And alhamdulillah, it's a good habit. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forces upon us the good habits at the end of our lives. Tawbatan minhu subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like a mandatory tawbah of bad lifestyle. Wallahi ajib. So they went to sleep early. he came to them, and he came and with the milk, and they had all this. قال فكرهت أن أوقظهما, and I hated to knock on the door and wake them up. I know they're sleeping. وكرهت أن يشرب أحد منا قبلهما, and I hated for any of my family, myself or my children, to drink before them. وكرهت أن يستيقظا فلا يجدا غبوقهما, and I hated for them to wake up at some point and not find the milk that they're used to drinking. قال فوقفت أنتظرهما حتى بزغ الفجر. So I stood there waiting until Fajr, hoping that if they wake up at any point, I'm there. قال اللهم إن كنت تعلم أنني ما فعلت هذا إلا ابتغاء وجهك ففرج عنا هذه الصخرة حتى نرى السماء. So he said, oh Allah, if you know that when I did that time, I did it only for you. I had no other, there was no one watching me and no one knew about it. I did this only to please you. Then remove a part of this boulder so we can see the sky, so we can breathe. قال ففرج الله عنهم منها ما نظروا في منها إلى السماء. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed a piece, a part of the boulder fell, it nudged, and they were able to see, there's a window seeing the sky, and then of course the hadith goes on, and the others make ad'iyah, and the whole thing is gone. But of course, within this story, there's this, one of the three was a person who had performed an action of birr to his parents, where he just, it's an action of birr. It's not basic. Had he gone home that night and came in the morning, it would have been fine. He's not a aq, and he's not a disobedient, disrespectful son. Had he found them sleeping, woken them up and gave them their halib, or taken it home and then came back at Fajr and gave it to them, no, all fine. But in his mind, he wants to be the best son he can be for them. He felt at that moment that this is the best thing I can do in service of my parents, and he just couldn't get himself to go away. Are you saying that the idea here is not to say that this is what you have to do? No, this is not what the hadith is saying. The hadith is saying that this is what this man did out of birr for his parents, and this is how powerful that action was in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A musibah that has no solution, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him a solution through this act. These deeds of birr, of caring for your parents in that way, of being so virtuous, are so powerful that they can be reasons for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove a musibah from your life. A musibah coming your way, head-to-head collision on its way to you, and then you have done an act of birr, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove it for you and save you from it. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ is trying to explain. Sometimes there are deeds that are so powerful, so heavy, not only do they have reward waiting for you Yawm al-Qiyamah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove masa'ib in your life for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ease difficulties in your life just because you did them. And birr al-walidain sits right on top of that list. There's a lot of things that you will do, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove difficulties and grant you ease, but it sits on top. Just your parents. There's nothing that comes to him. Al-Hasan al-Basri would talk to his students, and he would say, أَمَا تَعْلَمُونَ أن النظر إلى وجوه أمهاتكم عبادة فكيف بالتحدث معهما ومعها. Don't you know, he would tell his students, don't you know that just looking at the face of your mother, there's ajr. Imagine just sitting down and talking to her and having a conversation. Once, can't remember, I think it's Iyas ibn Muawiyah, I can't remember the name of the tabi'i. He came to his sheikh, he said, إن أمي تنتظرني على العشاء وإني أطلب قرآن. My mom waits for me for dinner at night. And over there, Isha is usually not the biggest meal. Like lunch is the big meal. It's very confusing, honestly. When I first came here, I'm still confused. We would have futur, small futur, then you have lunch. That's where and then you have a small little Isha. And now in here it's all. The reason I'm fat is because I'm used to having Isha anyways. So now I have futur, Isha, dinner, and then my dinner. So it ends up way more than I would ever eat. But he's telling his sheikh, and I want to learn the Quran. And the timing is not. فقال عد إلى أمك فاجلس معها على العشاء تقر بها عينها خير لك من جهاد في سبيل الله ومن قراءة في المسجد. So go home, sit with your mother, have dinner with her in a way that makes her heart happy, is better for you than jihad and memorizing the Quran and all of that stuff. This is the ease of this topic for me is ridiculous. I can sit you here for another hour. just telling you things that scholars have said and tabi'in, because it's so well established in our deen. It's very clear. This is one of the heavy hitters of our shara, of just caring for your parents and being the best person you can be for them. The best, not just doing the bare minimum, which is what gets you through. What gets you through in life, just do the bare minimum, you'll be fine. Do your salah, just the 5 mafrood, just fast only Ramadan, Hajj once, give zakah every year, nothing more. Don't give a cent more. The bare minimum, it gets you across Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshaAllah. But when he talks about your parents, he tells you, no, ihsana. He tells you, no, do the best you've got, the best you've got. Don't do bare minimum, do the best you got. Think, be creative about it. Be creative of what you can do with them. And that's the beauty of this topic. يروي الإمام البخاري في صحيحه عن عبد الله بن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم بينما 3 نفر ممن كان قبلكم يمشون إذ أصابهم المطر فأووا إلى غار فأطبق عليهم فبينما هم كذلك قال بعضهم لبعض إنه والله يا هؤلاء لا ينجيكم في ساعتكم هذه إلا الصدق فليدع كل رجل منكم بما يعلم أنه فيه قد صدق الله. فقال أحدهم اللهم إنه كان لي أبوان شيخان كبيران وكنت أرعاهما وزوجة لي وأولادا وكنت أحلب غبوقهما ثم آتيهما بالغبوق فيشربان قبل أن أشرب أو يشرب ولدي فأبطأت عنهما ليلة فأتيتهما فإذا هما نائمان فكرهت أن أوقظهما وكرهت أن يشرب أحد منا قبلهما وكرهت أن يستيقظا فلا يجدان غبوقهما فوقفت أنتظرهما حتى بزغ الفجر اللهم إن كنت تعلم أنني ما فعلت هذا إلا ابتغاء وجهك ففرج عنا من هذه الصخرة ما ننظر فيها إلى السماء ففرج الله عنهم من الصخرة ما نظروا فيه إلى السماء إلى آخر الحديث. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.